But I think it's always subject to change. Morning.
Question, just curiosity. Why do you have COVID pneumonia except together? It's funny, you got septic down here. Yeah.
Well,
So for septic, septic.
yeah, what did you
That just
somehow
wondered.
that got stayed in there, because sepsis was the same.
Last couple of weeks have been
Yeah,
fine. I've had meetings.
I had septic. 2016,
And I got a problem working in office.
Ian Barr. Both of those. Yeah, that's what Sheriff was, no,
Hello, Sheriff.
bad business. I don't even know what it was. Now I hear it all the time. How are you doing?
Hey, Jason, what's going on, man? One question. Tax rate needs to be set down in just please question for you.
Good afternoon.
Well, we had some information, but I just have a sheet where you sent over like the estimates.
I know Joshua.
Yeah, just call us. We'll come.
This
See
day,
your sign.
That's what I thought.
it is, yeah, okay, that's right, cool. But we haven't come to the month to set this.
You'll come together.
You still have Lexi?
No, I don't.
Really?
She resigned this last week.
Really? Where's she going?
Okay, all right, cool deal, man, that's all I needed to know, man.
Guess I better turn my phone off, it'll go off as sure as I go.
Yeah, I think we do, yeah. No, I don't know. No, I think it's just done by order. I think it's just one reading. No, we actually do have to have two readings. You're right.
I know, that's the first thing
All
I
right,
noticed.
I appreciate it, man. All right, bye.
Wow, it's good.
Well, when you set that one, set the one in the bell tower too, it's still off.
Well, I tried to set that the other day.
I noticed you got them all screwed up.
Do you remember the?
Even worse than
Yeah,
that.
they're worse.
You want me to go set it for you?
I do.
Okay.
Witnesses.
He said, if
I'll-
you're
I'll-
asking.
I'll take a few minutes and go set it for you.
Yes, sir.
Since they showed me how to set it, I slept since then.
You can't remember nothing when you
I
woke up.
can't remember that.
I think you set one of them and not the other. You didn't do it right. It's gonna be harder to straighten up now.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to get somebody outside to watch his face.
Okay.
No,
gotcha.
you shouldn't have to. No. It should be on
Well,
the,
you said one face is off.
but you can set them separate if you have to.
Yeah. They may
I
have.
messed
they
that
may
one
have
up for you.
I know you did.
Here, I'll ask the judge.
Robert, when are you
Appreciate
gonna
it.
do
Job
that?
to do.
Huh?
When are you gonna do that?
I'm not sure. I've
I
got
might go with you.
well, we don't have to go up. We just have to.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
it's
no,
just,
I
it's
don't-
It's an
office
education
upstairs.
experience.
I want to go up.
Well, we'll go up there sometime if you want to.
I love that.
Got just a couple of minutes, looks like.
Morning, Judge.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. Well, I think I am, but Robert's informed me that I'm not. And I messed the clock up, but I didn't deny it, did I?
No, I did.
Plausible deniability. Huh?
I wasn't gonna deny it. Would you keep one of those?
Those are sturdy.
Three down. Righty.
Do we need to have a formal vote on these or no?
Well, the mayor did, so I thought y'all might want to as well. Yeah, the city commission, what do you think?
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't hurt.
I didn't know.
Not necessary, but if you want to, then.
It's kind of an ad hoc committee. I don't know if it has the authority. It's just an advisory committee. So, but I asked him, and he said he did, so I thought I'd give him to you all.
Well, that way it looks
Okay.
like, doesn't look like
Are we
just
ready?
one person picked the committee, it looks like the court did.
Okay, it looks like it's 9:30, so we'll get started. I want to welcome everyone to the Clark County Fiscal Court meeting and to let you know that we appreciate you taking of your time to be with us today. And I see our pastor, Todd Rader from Stoner, Ephesus Baptist Church. Got it right, didn't I, Todd? Is here. Todd's going to do our invocation. And Todd, I'm going to ask you if you would come forward and give our invocation, and right after that, we will do the pledge. Thank you for being here today.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you in Jesus' name on this occasion here today, Lord. We just pray for your presence, Lord, to be with us. Thank you for each and every man and woman that's here representing this community. Pray for your grace and pray for wisdom. Pray for your will to be done in all things. Heavenly Father, we pray above all things that your saving grace, your sustaining grace will fall upon each and every one of us in this room and spread throughout our community. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Now our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Pastor Todd, we appreciate you coming this morning, and I know you may be busy. You're free to leave anytime you want. You're not bound. But do appreciate, we call upon members of the Church Association of Churches to come and do our invocation and share with us. And you all been very amenable about doing that, and we appreciate it so much because I know that you have a very active association and very active in the community, and we want you to be part of county government. So thank you so much. Okay, at this time, we will call our meeting to order and ask our Deputy Clerk Heather to call the roll.
Okay. Magistrates Elkins,
Present.
Davis,
Present.
Blanton,
Here.
Constantopoulos,
Present.
Thompson,
Here.
Graham.
Present.
Okay, thank you. We have public comments. Got to have one on there, surely. I haven't got to say this in a long time. This is, those folks that have been around for a while will understand this. Mike Irwin, 2744 McClure Road.
He's come out of retirement.
Even I still remember his address.
Good to see you, Mike.
Be here. You want me to repeat it for you, or just?
Yes, just for old time's sake.
Mike Irwin, 2744 McClure Road, Winchester, Kentucky. I am here today because I read your agenda and you have consider ordering a levy tax rates upon all properties subject to Clark County taxation. Mr. Daniel,
Yes, sir.
about a year or so ago, I mentioned to you that I thought if property had been platted and approved as a subdivision, that should be a separate tax rate, not a full retail tax rate on what the lots would be worth, but it still should be a higher tax rate than normal. You said you were going to check on it, and I've never heard anything back, so that's
And
why
you're
I'm.
exactly right. I completely forgot about it because we talked in passing and I didn't write it down. That's my fault
All right.
on that.
So are you gonna,
I will do the research on it and I'll get with the county attorney and I guess the PVA, is that how that would work through the PVA's office? And see, but he makes a valid point in regards to property being changed in the zoning from agricultural to planned development to where it's set up as a subdivision or so forth. And then the value of that, of course, is going to increase the value of the property, but they're still only paying the taxes of the agricultural on it.
The rate is agricultural, but the
The rate is-
valuation is considerably higher.
The valuation is considerably higher because it's already zoned or planned for a subdivision.
Correct.
that's all I had.
Got you a good, honest answer, didn't you?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Mike. Good to see you. Okay, that's all the public comment I have down. Does anyone else have public comment? I don't want to miss anyone that's come here today. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. You have minutes of the July the 28th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Magistrate Blanton,
Second.
second by Magistrate Elkins. Any discussion?
I did have one question, Henry, on the minutes.
I did too, if it didn't, the shame.
On the guess on the final page of the actual minutes,
Okay.
on the $40,000 to pave the Winchester Clark County Parks and Rec,
Yes.
it's got Magistrate Bland voted no, and the motion carried 6-0, 6-0.
Okay.
Should be 6-1.
6-1.
6-1.
Okay.
That's all I had.
All right. And
Mine was the same.
yours was the same. Okay.
6-0 church.
All right. So their motion and second will be with that one correction. Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, you have a transfer order. Entertain a motion on the transfer order.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Okay, have a motion by Magistrate Davis,
Second.
second by Magistrate Blanton. We'll open the floor for discussion.
So this $100,000 transfer, that's for the jail, is that right? Is that, I guess we've got a payroll coming up, but
Yes, payroll and the retirement.
do we anticipate anything coming in
We should
this
have a
month?
state check anytime now, but I don't know.
Maybe this
It's
month?
Here by the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else?
Is this, Alicia,
Yes.
I know you explained it in the email, but just to make sure I'm clear, the forfeiture count, is that creating an actual separate account?
Yes, we created it. That was approved back in June, I think, and that is just, it just keeps, I just keep other funds off, I just keep them all separate. That way that we can track them all separately.
Okay.
But it's not, I put it on the bank account, but it'll be in the general fund. Still.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You have a bills list.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Magistrate Constantopoulos,
Second.
second by Magistrate Blanton. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll note in the, I'm sorry. We'll note in the minutes our treasurer's report for July. Any questions or comments? Okay. Okay, now we have a first reading of a budget amendment. This is with regard to our community development block grant. That's not you, Karen, I'm sorry. We've been working with Grayson on that. I looked at you and I,
also can answer questions on that.
you're here for the resolution. That's right.
Motion, Judge.
Motion by Magistrate Thompson,
Second.
second by Magistrate Elkins. Any discussion, questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now you'll notice we have two orders for setting the property tax rate and other tax rates.
We need to note in the minutes. Did I miss that?
I'm sorry. What did we note?
Treasurer's report.
We did.
We did. I missed
Yeah,
it.
we did.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was sitting here reading.
You're
I
still with Mike
apologize.
back there. Look at him, look at him.
I'm sorry. I was reading. I apologize.
And one of them should be with regard to the compensating rate, and one of them is less than compensating rate. And the county attorney prepared two of them for us.
Judge, quick question. I know normally we've gotten a letter from the DLG with
We
the
have got-
estimated amount and then a formula to see what the implications are
Okay.
in regards to that.
We've got the information from DLG. It seems that our subject property this year is $2,769,951,000. Last year it was $2,650,800,000, which is an increase of about $119 million. That's on real property.
I don't know, it was
Can you
billions.
repeat that,
It was
Judge?
billions.
Okay.
There's 119 million difference.
Yeah, it's 119 million higher this year.
Okay.
And if you wanted to see, I think our tax rate is 8.2
Currently?
currently.
Currently.
And if you take 8.2 times, you take the 119 million, divide it by 100 and multiply it by .082, and that'll give you the,
97,580. 97,580, is that the number you come up with, Judge?
that's probably pretty close.
Yeah. The math I just did just now.
You multiply your increase in assessments by the tax rate, and that'll give you what you're projected.
What was the DLG's compensating rate? Was it a actual decrease in the rate, or was it?
Let's see what they've got here.
Would have been a pretty good increase, probably.
They've got compensating rate at 8.10
Huh?
instead of 8.2.
So it would actually, the compensating rate this year would actually be, if we adopt it, would be a slight decrease in the property tax rate.
From 8.2 to 8.1,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I
And
wouldn't
that
have
should
expected
generate
that.
the same revenue.
That's right.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's because of the increase, yeah. Yep.
Judge, one last question. Does this not have to be in ordinance? Don't we have two readings on it in ordinance form?
We have always done it in the ordinance form, but since this court's been in session, you all have done it in order form for the last 3 years. So I just followed that same, the county attorney has no issues with it, doing it in order form, so, and that's, I place a lot of my faith in the county attorney to
That's
give
correctly done as
recommendations.
an order. since
Yeah.
I've
I
been here.
remember we've done it, but for
So-
some reason I was talking to Jason, and he just mentioned ordinance, two readings on it, and I do remember doing it.
We always did, but you don't have to. You all have done it for 3 years without it. I don't see any sense in changing unless you just want to.
What about, okay, so that compensating rate on real property go from 8.2 to 8.1. What about what are the compensating rates, Henry, on tangible property and watercraft motor vehicles? Do we have that?
Motor vehicles have to remain the same. They
Okay,
can be no
gotcha.
higher than the 1983 rate.
Gotcha.
And I think it's 10.5, but I'm not sure.
And
Oh,
then,
I've got it right here.
and then tangible.
10.5. The tangible is,
Our current is, what was the current rate? I'm sorry.
10.9 on personal property.
Have
They actually don't make a recommendation for the tangible or personal property. They make one for compensating rate and 4% increase on real property.
Okay.
And then they make, of course, they give you the information about the watercraft or motor vehicles is 10.5, but they don't make a recommendation.
So,
It's currently at 10.9.
okay, so we could elect to just keep that the same. Obviously, motion needs to be made, but,
Right.
okay. And then watercraft motor vehicles, we don't control that rate.
Right. The maximum you can set is 10.5.
Do we have the numbers yet from library, health, and extension boards?
I don't think so. Michelle did not
We
mention.
They've not come to us yet.
Sheriff says no. Because you would see those as well.
Well, I would, so I guess is the idea then we would just discuss what we want our rates to be, and
You,
then.
you could
that-
discuss, we could table it till, we don't have to have this reported to the state, I don't think, till October.
I mean, I don't mind to make a motion, but obviously we can't complete the order because we don't have the
That's right. You have to.
taxing authorities.
You're
rates
right. You
yet.
have to allow the taxing authorities to be put on your order. Now, last year, you all did the order on the 11th day of August. So I'm assuming.
Because I know
you-
the health department's already set their rate.
Right.
Has the library, I don't know if the library has set their rate or
have no
not.
idea.
I don't think they have.
And I don't think has the extension set their rate
I
yet?
have no idea. You're on, are
Yes,
you on
they
that?
have.
They have?
Yes.
What did they do with theirs?
Kept it the same.
Kept it the same? Well, I'd make a motion, Judge, that we take the real property tax rate to the compensating rate, which is a reduction from 8.2% to 8.1%.
Okay.
And then I would further move as part of that motion that we keep the tangible rate at the current 10.9% rate.
So we're 8.1 on real, 10.9 on tangible,
Yes, sir.
and 10.5 on watercraft and motor vehicle.
And that 10.5, that, you said that's been the same thing since?
Since 1983. You can't change the rate.
It has stayed the same, yeah, right.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Magistrate Davis. Second. Okay, second by Magistrate Thompson. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now, we have a resolution for our Clark County Sanitation District. It's a US 60 sewer project, and it would be for a community development block grant. Karen is here from Bluegrass Ad. Do you want to speak, Karen, or you just answer any questions?
The only correction, or I guess addition I would make, Judge, not a correction, but Karen had left the ARPA amount. Of course, we'd already discussed and voted on that, which if we could alter that to 3 million, she just left an X in there. So what we voted on a few weeks ago was the 3 million,
So the county hereby commits $3 million.
correct. And with that correction, I'd make a move to adopt the resolution, Judge.
Okay, we have a motion by Magistrate Davis on the floor to adopt
Second.
the resolution, second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Moving on to our joint ordinance with amending the planning and zoning text. The county attorney has reviewed this. The city has adopted it, and now it's us because it's a joint ordinance.
Make a motion.
Have a motion to approve first reading by Magistrate Elkins,
We want to, I'll second it.
second by Magistrate Davis. Yes, sir.
I just wanted everybody to understand kind of what it's dealing with. I'd read through it. I didn't see any objection. This is dealing with accessory buildings and the ability of somebody to, or putting some restrictions on it. It looks like they could be up to 800 square feet, and it can't be a living space or dwelling. You can't put a full bathroom in it. You could have a half bath. Can't be used for any commercial purposes, so somebody want to use it for storage or a woodworking shop or, you know, a craft room or something, they could, but you just can't run a business out of it. I'm not sure about what the history or the genesis of this was, but obviously it's maybe been an issue at some point, so. But
I'd had a lot of individuals that had called that was building a barn or something, they wanted to put a half bath in it, and I don't think under the previous text that was permittable. So I think that's why they initiated that change.
Well, they're still not permitted.
I think
Except
you
for a
can have
half bath.
Half, well, that's what I'm saying, a half. They want to be able to put a bathroom in there, and I don't think they were allowed to even put a bathroom in there.
just can't be a dwelling.
Yeah. which has always been the case. But I think originally they thought it would be turned into a dwelling if it had a full bathroom into it. That's why they didn't allow that.
Okay.
800 square feet, if you're building a barn, that's, you know, if this applies in an ag district, that's not gonna fly at all in an ag district if you're trying to build a barn or a 3 or 4 car garage.
I think,
If we vote on this, I'd like to have Jeffries come to the next meeting, explain the impetus for this. I'm sure it was to correct an issue or some issue, and I'd like to know what that was.
He explained it at the city commission. I'm not going to attempt to repeat what he said, but he did explain it at the city commission.
I'd like to have him come explain this to us.
Okay.
does it, is it, you have a copy of it? This place, mine. Just looking at it.
You know, there's a lot of communities that are going towards allowing accessory dwelling units. That's kind of a new thing with,
You know, even Airbnbs.
and you know, so this seems to be going the opposite direction of what the trend is as far as a lot of land use places, especially with the high cost of land and construction and aging communities and, you know,
It's probably a good idea to make sure that it doesn't apply to the ag district.
again, I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, I haven't been involved in this, but I still have some questions, and I didn't talk to Jeffries about it because I thought y'all would probably have some of the same concerns, and ask him to come explain the whole thing to us.
Okay.
I think it's a valid concern.
Yeah, motion to table until our next meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to table by Magistrate Constantopoulos, second by Magistrate Davis.
This requires 2 readings, right?
Yes. So the motion to table will take precedence, so we'll go to that motion in second. So we have on the floor a motion to table this until our next meeting. Is that what the
That's
motion?
correct. If, and we can have Jeffries come in and
Any concerns or comments on the motion to table? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will take this up at our next meeting, which is August 25th. Thank you, Nova. She keeps me straight up here. All righty. Okay, now we will note in the minutes our condition report from the Clark County Detention Center. Okay, and then I wanted to, I think the magistrates know, item 14, we've had a resignation from our Assistant Treasurer, Director of Finance. And since I've been out of office for about 3 years, I just wanted to know how you all wanted to proceed. Do you want to proceed with advertising and setting up interviews?
I think that's what we would normally do. I don't see no reason not to do that.
I know Alicia had sent out a email that, you know, in the temporary form that we could, you know, that HR would be able to fill in, I think, a few hours to handle those duties, to keep them caught up on the entry and so forth in regards to that. You know, that's an option until the end of this year. And of course, I mean, we're gonna have all new court come January and new judge executive.
Yeah.
And so forth, and kind of see which route, you know, the route that we want to go on that. Because, you know, really the HR was kind of created during, you know, the sudden passing of
Judge Pace.
Judge Pace, you know, for the continuity of government, you know, and a lot of those HR duties fell under the deputy judge executive. But, you know, now we have a deputy judge executive within the last, you know, couple months. You appointed one that, you know, could handle the duties, but we're right back in that same situation with the new administration coming in. You may have a new deputy judge executive, or or they may appoint Ms. Nova again. But ultimately, just for the continuity, I think you ought to do that, because you could potentially you could eliminate one or the other, come the new year, depending on what direction it goes. But for the continuity, I think you ought to leave it the same and maybe do temporary and then make that decision in January is my thoughts.
So your proposal is to not proceed with hiring anyone in this position as full-time, but maybe to appoint someone, a current employee, in a temporary position that would serve those.
Just temporary
Would that
for a
be
few
for
hours
the
a
assistant
week?
treasurer and the director of finance to deal with the net profits and
I
payroll?
think that's kind of what is that?
No, that was, for the assistant. I still need a director of finance. I can't process all of those payments at once.
That's a big job.
Again, I say we go ahead and advertise and hire somebody. It's too big a job.
Other opinions?
Too important not to have someone in that position.
I'm really looking for direction because, as Daniel mentioned, I'm in kind of an awkward situation.
What would you do, Judge, if you were gonna be sitting in this seat in January? What would you do?
I dreamed about you asking me that question. No, I didn't, Greg. You always ask. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like the director of finance position has evolved and it's such a busy position. I did not realize, I was gone almost 3 years and there's a lot. So I don't know. I don't know. We don't have to do anything today. We had the discussion. It's on your all's minds. We can come back next court meeting and.
Well, we could go ahead and advertise, I guess, and at least we can stop midstream as long as we don't go beyond the advertising without hurting or damaging anyone, I think.
Okay.
That way we're at least.
Advertise and go ahead and accept applications and
Just
see what
we,
Okay.
see what we get.
I agree with that. I think given the climate, you take every opportunity you can to find the right person. If
Exactly.
you come across that person, then you move on. If you don't, you don't.
And then we'll probably go ahead and advertise in the newspaper, but I'll probably get Eric to put it on our website. We'll go ahead and do that if everyone's okay with that.
But do we need to do something while we're at, because I know the market's tough, and I know there's work to be done. Should we have somebody temporary fill in for those duties until we get somebody hired?
Like an interim.
Well, not interim, just temporary until we get somebody hired. Because those duties are gonna be stacking up.
Did the email, it's been a while since I've read it.
Me too.
Did it say that the HR director could manage those duties at least temporarily? Did I remember it reading it that way?
Assistant treasurer portion.
Alicia's telling us that just the assistant treasurer, we still wouldn't have anybody to do the director of finance.
Just a lot of the checks.
Yep. And we're talking about her, she's right here in the room. I just don't want to put her on the spot.
I need to introduce myself.
Ma'am, we've not met you.
It feels that way.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
That's okay. That's why she's in here.
Do you notice
Janet,
every time
our
they
HR
say something, they look back?
I'll
But,
do whatever you all need me to do. But
Kind of
keep
a-
in mind, if you hire someone, you can't guarantee them a position after January. That was the dilemma when Alicia and I spoke. To advertise, then the cost of advertising, and you find that perfect candidate, and then say, oh, by the way, I can't guarantee anything
Oh,
after January.
because
So-
that's appointed position by the judge.
It shouldn't be.
No, it's by the court, but you're having to
It's-
do court too.
it's by the court.
You know.
Well, I think that's basically the case with anybody, so I don't know that you can govern according to that. But I did wonder, just looking in the audience, and I may get beat for this.
You probably will.
Wonder if we circled the wagons and just a thought, but we're having a discussion, brought Deanna back over here to help out with the other duties until we get someone hired to at least help. That, she nodded good, and rather than giving me an evil look when I said it. So. Just a thought.
You'll pay for it later.
Yeah, that's a
No, I'm
possibility too.
kidding. Well, that's Is that something you might want to think about? Okay.
I think that the work is that it's more than a full-time job, and I know that she's only a part-time,
She
and
is
that she
part-time.
did it. But since July the 1st, they have, I has processed over 500, I has processed more than 500, more than 500, and checks, and that's a lot. I'm not saying that she could not do it, but that's a lot, and it needs to be processed within 3 days.
Well, here's what I could,
Date of the receipt.
That's the director of finance.
Yes,
So who's processing those checks now? Are you doing them?
She's still on the board.
She's still here until Friday.
She's still
Oh,
here.
Until Friday,
She's
till
still here.
Friday.
Processes them all, yes. Then I deposit them.
Well,
We have a
then we're,
3-day
well, then we
processing
need
window.
somebody temporary to process those checks. I mean, that's the most important, is it not, to process those checks?
Yeah, I could deposit them, but they wouldn't be processed on the other side.
Oh, okay, I follow you.
I mean, I can make sure that they get in the bank in time.
it's quite an ordeal. I mean, we're getting so many checks in now, it's an ordeal to process. I mean, it's unreal. I mean, there's stacks that come in.
It's a good
Deeds.
problem.
I'm sorry?
That's
It's a good problem. I'm not, that means business is doing good in the community. and-
Revenues.
Do we need to look at a
Revenues.
temporary person from like a DECO or something?
Well,
Would that help us at all?
let me
Would that
ask,
confuse
let me
things?
ask, let me
That
ask
would-
you all for a
I would think
favor.
that would confuse things.
Let me ask you if you would give me this opportunity as the administrative official. Greg, since you mentioned that, let me have a conversation with Janet and with Dee, and then maybe by the next court meeting, we can come up with something that you all could, in an interim capacity, we could come up with something. How about that?
Yep.
Because I wanted to get direction from you all today. We could go ahead and advertise, and then if you decide at the next court meeting that you want to go ahead and fill it full-time again, then we'll move forward with that.
Or if you think you'd be ready to put it on for that special meeting.
Well, and I'm thinking that whoever does this, either one of them, the assistant treasurer and/or director of finance, you're probably going to want to compensate them a little more, I would think. Am I reading you all
Well,
right?
for the if
For the
it's gonna be
temporary time.
Until you hire somebody full-time, yeah, I mean, if they're gonna be.
I think it would be unfair to ask someone to do that. Okay. Okay. Then give me an opportunity, we'll talk about it at the next court meeting, is that okay? Okay.
Sounds
Thank
good
you.
to me.
All righty. I have no closed session today, but I do have a couple things I need to discuss with you all. You should have a quote from HARP Election Services, and then an email from the county clerk, Michelle Turner, and it talks about, the fiscal court had talked about having more voting sites. Now, this proposal, with the voting machines on this proposal, and it's $169,887. I think, Daniel, you wanted to get an exact number on that. And what this would propose is to open up all of our sites that we used to have. Now, some of our sites have multiple multiple precincts. For example, R.D. Campbell Junior High School has 4 precincts. We used to set up a separate precinct in each one. This proposal still treats those as like a common site, and we wouldn't have 4 individual precincts set up there. We would just have one, and then the person would come in and identify their precinct, and they would receive the ballot for that precinct. Did I explain that?
You did.
Did I do it good?
You did. Yeah.
So, that's what Michelle wanted to know. How do y'all want to proceed?
So people would still be voting at their normal place of polling, except they would all be merged into one precinct. I follow you.
And all the others would be like they were before.
Right.
Exactly. Now, the question is, and I didn't see this in the email unless I looked over it, I'm trying to scan through it again. Her question, one of her questions was, is it too late to have this implemented by the November election? Is that gonna be any type of issue?
Oh, you did? Okay.
I
Well,
don't
thank
think
you.
she would've laid it here if she couldn't do it for the November election. But I don't know the answer to your question.
Yeah, and there was one other.
She knows the exact date. I don't have to order them by, but she told me that she could get them in time.
And there was one other question, I was hoping she was gonna be here this morning to ask her this, and I don't know if there's additional technology that you could purchase, but I was reading an article, and I think it was Whitley County clerk, is that they had it set up to where, when you came in and scanned your driver's license, it manually printed out a ballot for the district and who you had to vote for. So it alleviated all of, having 90-some ballots on a table like we did in the primary. And I just didn't know if we had those capabilities or if that's an additional piece, that we could purchase. You don't have any idea.
That's-
Sorry.
And she's not
I was
mentioned,
hoping to,
I never heard
I was
talk
hoping to
about
ask
it.
her that today.
Yeah, I never heard her talk about it, so I'm not sure.
and she did not mention that to me as well, so.
To me, that was one of the biggest issues we had in the last election, was people giving the wrong ballots, because I had numerous phone calls and texts about that. As a matter of fact, I had one person who actually voted incorrectly, who was registered one party but voted the other party because she was given the wrong ballot.
And in that article that I read, it was saying that it saved a lot of money, because I know these clerks around the state normally have to order the paper ballots. And so they don't, it's a guessing game on how many ballots they're going to
Yeah.
need. And when they order all the paper, where this one, when they scanned it, it automatically printed out. It said it took 2 seconds to print out. And so by the time they got done signing their pad, it was already printed out and they just handed them the ballot. That's what the article said. If that, but sometimes
I could see that being a significant cost savings, probably, maybe even where you have multiple precincts in one building, less poll workers that way as well. Which would be helpful, because I know that's another struggle the clerk's office had, was securing enough poll workers.
Judge, would it be appropriate, appropriate, to make a motion to approve, the purchase of these new machines, and then before we make any final commitment, that the clerk, research if there's any other additional software that would do that printing of the ballot that may make it streamline process even more? Or is this a one-time?
So the motion would be contingent upon,
Not contingent, I just.
Also.
He's just
Also-
leaving, he's leaving it open,
I'm
and we
leaving
might need
it-
to spend more.
If we need to spend a little bit more money to.
Protect the integrity.
Yeah, to protect the integrity of those ballots being printed out and so forth, I'd rather spend a little bit more. Is that, you see where I'm going with
Okay,
that? I'm
sure,
okay with this.
Okay,
He's
so if
saying
we-
we commit to this, but.
if we order this and then possibly order that additional technology as well.
If it may be included in there, I don't know. That's
To
what
find
I
out,
wanted to
okay.
ask with Michelle today.
I think that would be.
I mean, does she feel like that she can secure enough, and maybe the question's not been asked, maybe I should have asked it earlier, but, I mean, does she feel like she can secure enough people to work these polling places? I mean, that's been a growing challenge for the last several election cycles. So, we had a lot of poll workers that were very elderly, and some aren't doing it at all anymore, or haven't been brought back. So I just wonder if,
She has a challenge getting workers every year.
right.
But I would think she would still fulfill that challenge even,
Well, I'm sure she'll make every effort to.
Yeah.
I don't have any doubt about that, but,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think she has confidence that she can.
you know.
Well, I think it's a very difficult decision because it's unbudgeted funds, but
Yes, sir.
elections are one of the most important things that we do. So, and I can tell you, I got numerous complaints while knocking on doors about limited polling locations. And that wasn't a complaint on anybody or any office, it's just, I'd like to be able to vote where I used to vote. That's, I heard that time and again.
My recommendation, because it is unbudgeted, is to sweep the ARPA funds through the general fund and then pay for it that way.
That was gonna be my suggestion, Daniel, but,
So, I mean, I'll offer that up as a motion to, I'm trying to think of the best way to word that is. How do we need to, do they just need a formal?
I don't think they need to be
formal-
done together.
I think we just need a formal approval to spend it, and then the money situation, then we can do whatever we need in the upcoming meetings to
Right.
move money around.
This would be basically an approval to enter into a contract with HARP Election Services for the additional machines at $169,887.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Yeah, and I've got I'll second that and say that, I've got I guess a conversation and magistrate comments where we can address these funds then as well. So,
Okay.
But I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Magistrate Constable, second by Magistrate Elkins. Okay, is it, all the magistrates understand the motion? Okay. Basically, just to go ahead and contract the purchase of these machines. Okay.
And will you have that conversation with Michelle? if
I
there's any
will, and
additional-
I'll email you all on the reply, or the,
Do you know where you saw that article at? Could you send that to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
And send it
out
to Michelle as well, I guess. Because I'd like to see,
Yep,
I don't
absolutely.
doubt you, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
we
Kinda-
sent,
Well,
Mich-
I put the caveat on a minute ago. That was what was written in the paper.
Okay, okay.
So, I mean, I don't know if there could have been misinterpretation of that, but.
In the
or-
paper?
Or what. So-
Really?
don't talk about it. Paper's here.
No, I just sometimes when you're speaking, sometimes.
I know.
I'm taking up for you, Matt. Just kidding, just
No
kidding.
offense, that was no offense.
Man, I'm
And
keeping
it
my
wasn't the
head
Sun, it
down.
wasn't the Winchester Sun.
All right, well, I'm glad you said that. It's another county.
Whitley County, I think is what it
We
was.
text Michelle, and she said if we order by the end of August, we'll get our November dates covered, so this should be fine. I think we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, you should have a personnel advice from the animal shelter, our director, Adriana.
Motion to
Wills. Okay. And if you would approve an order. We'd like to
Okay,
put-
approve an order, that's fine, yeah.
Give a motion to
Yeah, we do
approve
need
an
an order, you're
order.
right.
Hiring at the Clark County Animal Shelter, a part-time kennel attendant 1.
Second.
And I think second by Magistrate Thompson.
If she's in dire need of someone out there, she's got some personnel issues.
Right, okay,
She
so
sent
we
us an email, so.
motion by Blanton, second by Thompson. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. Appreciate that. I think the last thing I've got is, we've been working on the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee and an advisory committee. And the city commission approved basically the city recommendations. And I was going to ask you all to approve the county side, and I was just going to read their names and make it public. We have Sarah Glenn, Tom Hutchins, Bill Sharp, Brandy Peacher, Gary Hess, Larry Disney, Heather Woolwine, Deborah Garrison, and Shelby Gill.
I think that's actually preacher with an R.
Oh, it is?
Judge, you spoke with each of these people and. they
Each of these have
agreed to-
committed, yes.
I'll make a motion to, accept the list of names on the,
Okay.
on
We have a
the,
motion by Magistrate Elkins to accept these names. And a second by
Second.
Magistrate Blanton. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I do want to note the letter that you all have from the coroner's office, and Deputy Coroner Neil Oliver prepared this, and it's a nice report, very concise and thorough, and we appreciate that. So Y'all have any questions on the report?
Just a comment, another comment, Judge, and I've made
Yes,
this all the previous courts. It would be real nice if we could get some kind of monthly or quarterly report from all the departments, just to see what's going on.
Okay.
Some people may have a question, and we may not know the answer to it, but if we get a monthly or at least a quarterly report from all the departments, it was,
Something just like this?
yeah, I know Addie does one monthly for the animal shelter, and I have no idea what fire and road, but that was just, even if we just put it in the packet and we can look at it or not look at it, but I think that would be very helpful to everyone, just to kind of keep abreast of what all our employees are doing.
Okay.
I'd say this is an excellent report.
Yeah, very, very thorough. Thank
Yep.
you, Neil. Appreciate this. Okay. All right, that's all I have. So we'll go to magistrate comments. Joe, we'll start with you.
I have none.
Okay. Travis?
No, sir.
Daniel?
Just one quick thing on broadband. Me and Magistrate Davis have had a couple meetings with broadband, and we have a meeting tomorrow to make a decision on the regional approach, however all the 6 counties are feeling about it. So we're getting very close to having a direction that we're going to go. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should have a definitive direction on how we're going to go. So
Oh,
just
good.
want to keep y'all up to
Is
date.
this with regard to the local project kind of in the west end of?
No,
This is regional.
This is the regional.
Oh, the regional.
This is to make sure that we
Okay.
get coverage to every existing home in Clark County. And the regional approach was Scott County, Bourbon County, Fayette County.
Madison.
Woodford,
Jessamine?
Jessamine.
Oh, that's, okay.
Bluegrass
So we
ad.
looked at it as a holistic regional approach, and we've had proposals, we've had 3 meetings, we've had meeting after meeting on this, but we've had meetings with each provider a couple times, and we've gotten numbers, and so tomorrow we're getting together as the 6 counties to discuss those on where we're at. I've been keeping Magistrate Davis, and since he's at the ad hoc committee with me, keeping him in the loop. We've discussed it in great length. We've had a couple meetings with providers, so hopefully we'll have an idea here in the next couple weeks on where we're at.
That's great, and as you all probably are experiencing as well, I know our offices, we get a lot of calls
Oh, yeah.
because the RDOF project is in full bloom out there, and people are asking questions, and now the people that don't have them working on their road are starting to ask questions. But if I may, Daniel, I'm going to ask you about the other project, our local project, that kind of you spearheaded. I had a call, and I've tried to call the gentleman back and haven't been able to get in touch with him, on Combs Ferry Road past Basin Springs. And it looks like in that project, our project, that's included. Do you remember?
Well, the original project that we put out to bid, yes, that was included.
Okay.
And then we approved to go into negotiations with AT&T.
Right.
And then we found out that we were part of this regional approach, because that was when Judge
Okay.
Pace had initially signed us up. So before we went into negotiations with them, I thought we ought to do our due diligence to see about the regional approach.
That was the second project. He's talking about the second project.
Yeah, you're talking about the same one, aren't you? The
Yeah,
RFQ?
yeah,
The RFQ?
The RFQ that we
Yeah,
put out
it's
was
very-
only for a small section
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
of Clark County, where
Yeah.
this is looking at all
Yeah,
of Clark
exactly.
And
County.
that's why we threw the brakes on the negotiations with
okay.
AT&T.
Because if we're gonna do the
'cause-
regional approach to get all of Clark County, there's no point in doing this little sliver.
Okay.
And then, and we've all talked about, we need to do it for all of Clark County, so I mean, I think that's the direction to go. The question is, do we do it as a regional approach? Is it gonna be more cost efficient, or is it gonna be more cost efficient just to go alone?
Well, personally, I like the idea of vetting out that regional project. I didn't understand it that way. I
I
thought they were.
apologize if I
That's
didn't
fine,
explain that
that's
well.
fine, but I like that. Let's vet out our regional project, and if we get any calls from those folks in our other project, we'll say, well, right now, we've got that on hold until we find out about our regional project.
But
Okay.
hopefully, we're gonna have a recommendation, within the next 30 days, don't you think?
I would think, based on on our couple of meetings and then what you've told us, I would think within a month, this court ought to be able to make a decision one way or the other. Now, based on what I've heard from Daniel, I think the regional approach, it's a great idea, but you've got multiple counties with multiple philosophies and multiple needs, and the build out is much more expensive than others. I know for some reason Woodford County has been a real challenge with what it's going to cost for their build out for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've always had my doubts that it's going to, and I've expressed this to Daniel, I've had my doubts that they're going to be able to get enough of those counties together to make the regional. But I mean, it's worth, vetting it out, and it sounds like by the end of this week, they'll know whether it's going to work or not.
But to caveat to what Magistrate Davis said there, it may not work, not every county may
Some
go with
counties.
the same provider.
Right.
There may be 3 that go with, one of the bid winners, and there may be 2 that go with another bidder. It's how it benefits each county, and hopefully we'll have a better idea. We've got a meeting tomorrow morning, and we're gonna see where every county's kind of, what their representative is feeling, and then go that direction. So I think we're in a good position. I really do.
I'm perfectly satisfied with that, so
And that's all I've got.
that's good. Okay, that's good information, thank you. Robert,
I'm good.
Chris?
I had a question about the jail report. It sounded like there was, I guess, has been and is a lot of ongoing HVAC work done. I mean, are we to a point over there where the whole system just needs to be replaced, or?
I think it's gonna be a heavy discussion on the meeting next Wednesday, if everybody's willing to wait.
We do have Jailer Dole here. Thank you, Jailer Dole. We'll give you the floor.
I appreciate that. We do, and a matter of fact, our jail committee, Magistrate Elkins, Magistrate Thompson, we had a short meeting prior to the fiscal court meeting this morning. I kind of brought them up to date where we're at. We're in lack of better words, a ticking time bomb with it, because they say it's not a matter if it's going to fail, it's just when. And we also shared some costs with them this morning as to basically why we want to try and avoid this cost-wise. We're Magistrate Elkins, them, and Travis, Magistrate Thompson this morning, like I say, we were kind of showing them, look, if this goes, this is the amount of money that we stand to lose. This is the amount of money that it could cost us. So that's what we're trying to avoid this morning. It's one of those things, this thing's 30-some years old, and it's gotten to the point it's irreparable. And I've even had a different company come in and looking at the damages, and not so much damages, the wear and tear with these units. And what we're getting into is, number one, it's 30-some years old. They can't even find parts for it. More or less find a unit that would be comparable. So it's going to have to be an updated thing. I know that I think next Wednesday you all have a special call meeting, and I plan on being there as well, if you all don't mind, just to kind of keep myself in the loop and the knowledge, and if there's anything that I can help you all with. They're going through right now and looking, trying to get prepared. The biggest problem that scares me, and I appreciate you asking this question more than you'll ever know, the biggest thing that scares me, and we've been told this by 2 different companies that we've been in contact with, this is going to be something that's going to take some length of time to get. That's what worries me more than anything, is the timeline of getting it.
And my concern has been that, if we get these federal, it's a concern anyway, but certainly if we get these federal inmates over here finally, and you get that revenue coming in, and then that thing goes down.
Right.
And the feds look, well, we got all these inmates in Clark County Jail, and the heating and air's gone down, they can't even keep it going, so that's gonna be a bad look for all of us.
Yes.
And the jail.
Yes.
And may jeopardize losing the inmates.
Yes.
And the revenue.
Yes.
To take that a step further, the Department of Corrections regulates the temperatures in those cells. You can't be too hot, you can't be too cold, and if you are, you're gonna have to move inmates out. And so it would be a disaster to lose the revenue we have now currently and an even bigger disaster, to have to move the county inmates to Boyd County or Estill County or Madison County or wherever else. I mean, those expenses, that revenue loss and that that expense could be about $4 million a year. It wouldn't last for a year, probably, although I was told this morning if we order the unit today, it'll take about a year to get it. So,
Yeah, that's true.
And we're looking at, I'm sure, at least a six-figure
Seven.
purchase, right? Seven figure.
I'm gonna guess, and I'm guessing, I'm not in the air conditioning business, but my guess is we're probably a little bit this side of $1 million. I'm gonna say, just because of everything else and shipping costs and.
well,
things
like
this
I said this morning, you're gonna have to dig the system up by the roots. I mean, you're gonna have to go right to the
So
root
it sounds
of
like,
it.
sounds like something that's probably we're gonna need to look into bonding. So I don't know when that process needs to start, but
The biggest thing that we're dealing with right now through the Department of Corrections is the heat and air and the walk-in cooler and freezer. Those are the two things that they're holding our feet to the fire on. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I told Master Elkins and Master Thompson this morning, people are gonna be people. Inmates are gonna be inmates, but we have to answer, if there's a complaint, then we have to answer and respond to them. We've even bought equipment that we can walk into a room just like this one right here, and we can tell you what the exact temperature is in this room. We've done that. We've also even went to the point that we have purchased, I think right now we've purchased up to 8 portable air conditioning units that we're using in certain cell areas that we've had some of the complaints to get everything comfortable, get everything back where it needs to be,
Yeah.
where it's satisfied. We went for probably 2 weeks there. Department of Corrections had us documenting and reporting to them every day, twice a day, what the temperatures were in the cell areas. And they seen that we were being, proactive and doing everything that we could. And it all worked out great.
I think it's something we're gonna end up having to bond. I mean, it sounds
Right.
like. I mean,
And I'm hoping that's where, and Juggernaut Doyle and I had this conversation yesterday. The deputy judge and I had an opportunity to meet with ESG. Greg, you've met with them. The company that's going to do the presentation that we entered into an agreement to do a no-charge assessment. And one of the things that they're going to show us, and I sent you all the draft presentation, but it may look different next Wednesday, is they can show us a way to capitalize on some savings with regard to some of these units and actually be able to bond replacement. So that's the reason she wanted to have a special call meeting so she could have her attention focused on this one thing.
And I'm sure it'll be a more energy efficient system
Oh,
than
yes.
what is there
Absolutely.
now. I mean,
Yes,
that's-
sir. Yes, sir.
Most of them are. I mean,
Yes.
they get more energy
Yes.
efficient over the years.
And see, that's what this
year over year.
procurement, and I've had a conversation with the county attorney with regard to this procurement process.
Yeah.
And you all are gonna see that it's gonna be a little different. It's not a bid and take the lowest bid. It's an energy savings procurement, and it's allowed by statute. And William has looked at it, and he's, I wanted him to look at it long before we ever considered it.
I know we had this conversation. I know it's probably don't need to take care of now, but it's kind of one of those things that sometimes I have to express things while I have it on my mind, because a week from now I may forget it. But the other side of that coin is too, and Master Elkins and us, we all went through this, and we saw when we done with the boilers, and the boilers blew up just because of their age back a few years back. And I know that everybody wants to look at the money end of it and want to try and say, well, what can we get here that's going to be the best bang for our buck, or what's going to be the cheapest? But if you remember, we went with the cheapest bid on that, and by the time we got all the add-ons, it wound up costing us more than we could have had it done for, So, I mean, nobody's done anything wrong, but it's always good to have that information out there to filter through, to reminisce. so to speak,
Is the walk-in freezer the other big one they're hitting on?
Yes, sir.
It is,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. It's just to the point.
Have
It's.
you got any estimates on replacing?
I have.
What are we
Yes,
looking
sir.
at there?
I'm wanting to say we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000, which is not bad, compared to an air conditioner.
We gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, there
Yes,
again, that
yes.
walk-in unit's 30 years old.
It's original. Yes, sir.
It is,
It's
and
original.
if I remember, and I don't mean to step on Magistrate Davis's comments time, but if I remember correctly, or if I saw correctly in the presentation that this group will put on next Wednesday morning, the cooler is included in that as well.
I think it is.
We could roll that into the bond.
Yeah.
They,
That'd be great.
what they did an assessment, and they got prioritized the things, and, you know, your HVAC came out number one.
Yeah.
That
And
needs to be taken care of immediately. So that's correct, Greg.
one other good point that I'll make is that the roof lease is paid for now as of 2022, and the boiler lease, I think it was, is 2024.
I think that is.
So that'll
right,
be rolling off for the
2024.
next year
Yes,
and a
sir.
half.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Those two leases are about 55,000 combined, somewhere in that neighborhood a year, so.
The other thing we need to, I think, not to take up too much time, we need to, and I've been reading into these reports for 2 or 3 years, the kitchen tiles and the ceiling tiles.
I've got the tile. We had our guys, when they shut the kitchen down one day, the tiles are gone.
Yeah.
I am still, the Department of Corrections feels we need to have something there that's anti-slip, which, and we talked about that this morning as well. It's not really a room finish on the concrete, and it's not really a machine polished. It's just, to be honest with you, that may be part of my fault. I've kind of been on the AC and walk in and trying to keep things running, but we've also made sure that everything's pretty safe. But we are going to have to address it with Department of Corrections, you know, because they'll keep dinging us on it if we don't. But it's knocking on wood. You know, we've not had any incidents or anything involving it. That we had more incidents with the tiles missing and chipped out and broke, and that's why we went on and got them out, you know, trying to avoid that. But it worked out good.
But you'll need to finish that.
Yes,
up,
sir.
too.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I'd say go ahead and get an estimate on that too. And
I got you.
Bring that to us, and then
I will.
let's
I'll
start
do that.
talking about what we're gonna do
I'll
there.
do that. I'll
You've
do
been
that.
telling us about it for a couple of years, so I
know.
mean, it's not like we don't know about it.
I tried to address everything that I could with our labor force over there.
I understand.
But, you know, when it comes to air conditioning, the coolers and stuff like that, you know, it's just stuff that we don't have the expertise or the equipment to do it.
Jailer Door, one,
Yes, sir.
one thought, and you may have already thought about this, but with the AC, and we know it's gonna take 12 months, research some companies, and you may have already done this, that can do a temporary option. I know like when they did our boiler here, it was in the middle of winter, and they were able to hook up a temporary boiler. Of course, we had to pay a
Right.
lease on it.
Right.
But if something like that happens at the jail, where that shuts off, if there's a company we can call to get something temporary hooked up, I don't know if it's possible, but,
They did that at the library in Lexington.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they sat on Main Street for 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
So if we need to do, I mean, I would just have something in place to where
right.
if that happens,
The,
we can hook it up and go.
The company that, and I was explaining this morning to the jail committee too, the company we have in place right now, we've had that conversation with them, and hopefully, matter of fact, I have a call into the gentleman this morning. I'm just waiting for him to return my call. Just has done a wonderful job as far as reporting to us. We've had more reports back to us in 2 weeks than I've had probably in 2 years from the former company. So, I mean, they're reporting to us and keeping us up to date and telling us why, and it's making our life a whole lot easier. But I will double check on that for you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Chris, did you have,
I did not, thank you.
Greg?
One other thing on the jail. We had a busy morning this morning. Travis and I did. Judge, you and I talked some time back, and I think I was supposed to ask for an order, and I must have forgot it, to allow the jail to stop sending those reports over here in paper form. So I'd like to ask you and Assistant County Attorney Berryman to prepare that for the next meeting, if you don't mind, and we'll get that voted on so Susie can quit doing that.
Well, that's very good of you to take the burden on that, but actually, I think I was supposed to have the order prepared.
Leave it be.
Once
Judge.
again. But anyway, William and I have discussed this, and he's okay with, so I'll get that order prepared for the next court meeting.
Good. And One other thing, I don't want people to forget that some of us are looking at, I know you and I have talked many times about potential pay raises, and so we're working on that. I want you to know that we're working on that and looking at the budget and how we might change that around to make those payments, and we just haven't made enough progress on that to bring it forward yet. So.
Right, and I know that some of the, and I think I've relayed this information to you, that many of the departments put money in their budgets for increases.
Mhm.
And of course, it'd be up to the fiscal court to determine that.
Yeah.
And, yes, yeah, we've had a conversation with getting up with inflation, and I don't know what inflation's at right now. I'm sorry?
Printed today at 8.5%.
8.5.
So it's actually, CPI went down a little bit.
Okay. We,
Year over year from last
see,
month.
you know, Greg, to your credit, you proposed that 6.2, I think, in January or something.
Yeah.
May,
December, I think, but I
December,
think we
effective.
started in January, I believe.
and at that time, that was the
That was the rate at the time.
Yeah, that was the rate.
Continued to climb.
Inflation rate.
Yeah.
And it went up to 9.1, it's back down in the 8s. But during that time, I think it was soon after that, it went up to 9. I don't remember how, but we've lost some time with her. And what Greg and I have talked about is just getting our employees at least up to where whatever dollar we pay them is worth the same as it was last year. So, and I know Chief Asbury had you and I have had that conversation. Do you want to say anything, Chief?
Sir, I just want to let everybody know that we did put 3% in
Okay.
our budget, and that was merely to offset inflation.
Right.
That is not a raise.
Yeah.
So, you know, I brought paperwork with me today. If we're not ready to move on, I'll wait till the next board meeting. But several departments in central Kentucky that we're comparable to, and I've got 3 people in processes of other departments now because they're somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $12,000 more than we pay. And
Yeah.
that's starting out. And I'm not talking about Lexington, I'm not talking about northern Kentucky, I'm talking about comparable departments in size and district-wise to us, and they're paying $10,000 to $12,000. So that's why I was merely trying to say, if we put 3%, if we only put 3% to combat inflation, we're not giving a raise. So we've come a long way with our trucks, and we still got a way to go on our building facility, but we've increased our staffing, and we're going to increase, you know, our ability to go out US 60 corridor. We have to start with infrastructure. And if I can't staff a fire department in order to make that growth happen, we're going to be in trouble. So that's why I put the 3% in, just to combat inflation. If we want to talk about giving our members a raise, then we got to go above that 3%. So,
Well, the
somewhere-
chief,
Was that 3% in the budget also, so you had 6% in there
No, sir, it was just 3% more increased in budget.
from the previous year?
From the previous year. That was merely to stay in step with inflation.
So we have, in July, you get 1%, and then on their longevity, you get an additional up to additional 2%. So if that's 3%, then an additional 3% would not be included in that.
it is
in
not
that.
included, that is
Not
correct.
included. No, sir, I did not include it. I'm just trying to keep.
Or an
it's your
additional
all's
1 or
job
2
to-
or whatever
And,
for the
and that,
inflation.
that is why I said we've got some work to do on the budget, because these things have to be paid for. The first thing you have to do, in my opinion, is, and we can argue semantics on what a raise is and isn't all day long, but the first thing we have to do is to make sure that the employees don't lose, they don't fall backwards. That's my chief concern, and then after that, we'll worry about increasing above where they are, but I don't want them to be compensated less than because of everything else is going up.
I
so-
concur. That's why I put the 3%. My chief concern was merely to make sure that the dollar was still the same from the previous year.
Yeah, so as you can tell, Magistrate Davis and I and others look at that inflation rate every time it comes out, so we can make sure that we're doing what we can to keep pace with that, so.
And Greg, I appreciate you bringing this up, you know, because at least that lets our employees know that it's on
Yep.
our minds. We're trying to be proactive, and so, Thank you.
Yeah, we hopefully don't have to wait till the end of the year to get there. So. But we're working on it. That's what I wanted to communicate. The judge and I have talked about it almost, not daily, but often. It's on our mind, so. And along with others as well. Just, I think the judge calls me the most about it.
I do, don't I? Well, I hear it from, their side,
And I've talked to all of the magistrates basically about it as well. So it's been a communication we've had, and we hadn't forgot you.
Other department heads, or we get together and we discuss it as well. Alan's just in eastern Kentucky right now.
Right.
So
And I've talked with Adriana.
For the road department or any other department, but I know that they have concerns with the same thing that I do. The guy sitting here today that brings.
You're just one we picked on today.
Correct.
But I know that I've talked with Adriana, I've talked with Tony. I don't see Tony here today, but yeah, we've all had those. And in fact, right here in central office and with our custodial staff and county maintenance, we've had those same conversations. All right, well, Greg,
Magistrate,
That's
you
it
still
for
have
me,
the floor.
Judge.
did you have something in regards to ARPA you said you were gonna mention?
Well, actually, I was going to say that as we talked about the budget, that while we're looking at moving funds around for compensating employees, I think that's a good time to consider moving some funds where we need to pay the $169,000, I think, for voting machines, because that's not a small number, but it's an important number. So, and I think you had the right idea of where to get those funds from, to pull them from ARPA and into the general fund, which I've been opposed to at every turn. But this is important enough. I think it's something that we about have to look at. So. I have nothing further, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
all right, that wraps our meeting up.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Magistrate Constantopoulos.
Second.
Second by Magistrate Elkins. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Hey, Rob,
I will.